Welcome to the Leading with AI podcast. Today, we're doing one of our deep dives. That means we're taking a stack of insights, pulling out the really crucial nuggets, and laying them out to make you instantly better informed.
And this deep dive, it's sparked by a really fascinating question. It comes from a new book we've been digging into, and it asks, how can you plan in real time, not real hindsight?
That question just hits differently, doesn't it? It cuts right to the heart of the problem so many businesses are wrestling with today. I mean, for years, decades even, strategy's been this static process, almost a ritual.
Totally. You gather historical data, you analyze past performance, maybe you commission a big market study, once a year if you're lucky. Then you craft this plan, hoping it'll hold up for the next year or maybe longer.
Right. It's like plotting your voyage based entirely on where the ship was yesterday, just assuming the winds and currents are going to stay exactly the same tomorrow.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And the book we're looking at makes it crystal clear that assumption. It's fundamentally flawed today. The sheer pace, the nature of change, it's just different now.
Yeah.
Especially, with the incredible rise in capability of artificial intelligence. That old static model, it just doesn't cut it anymore.
You're basically trying to navigate a constantly shifting, swirling landscape with a map that only gets updated once a year. It's kind of crazy when you think about it like that.
It is.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to really unpack why that static approach to strategy is becoming, well, a relic, particularly in this age of AI. And maybe even more importantly, we want to explore the dynamic, the intelligent approaches that the book details, the ones that are actually replacing it across the modern enterprise.
Yeah, we'll be looking at how AI isn't just some fancy new tool you bolt on. It's a force that really transforms everything. It changes how you develop your strategy in the first place, how you actually run your day-to-day operations, how you understand and engage with your customers on a truly individual level.
And even what gives you an edge over the competition.
Exactly. Even the fundamental source of competitive advantage itself. The book is pretty clear. This isn't presented as some optional tech upgrade. It's framed as a necessary shift, a fundamental pivot required for survival, let alone growth, in what it calls the intelligent era.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Why is static strategy really becoming obsolete? The book starts by really establishing just how profound this change brought by AI actually is. It's stressing that this is way more than just automating a few tasks here and there or finding some marginal efficiency gain in one department.
Right. And AI can do those things
Yeah.
and do them well, but that's not the main event.
That's table stakes, almost.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
The book makes that distinction right at the beginning. AI, when you really grasp its potential, it shifts the entire business conversation. It stops being just about, optimizing the processes you already have. It becomes about fundamentally reimagining how the business operates, period.
Reimagining how it innovates, how it connects with customers.
Yes, how it innovates, how it connects with customers in a deeply personal way, and ultimately how it competes and, well, wins in the market. It's presented as nothing less than a complete paradigm shift for any modern company.
And that really bumps up against how a lot of companies first saw AI, didn't it? Like maybe it was a cool piece of tech, something the IT department should look into, or, something to get around to later once the real business was sorted.
Precisely. That's the old way of thinking.
Yeah.
The book argues pretty forcefully that the companies that truly grasp how profound and pervasive this AI shift is, and this is the key part, actually embed AI into the strategic core of their business, into their operational DNA, those are the companies set up to thrive.
They're the ones positioned for sustainable growth.
Sustainable growth, resilient innovation, real market leadership for the long haul. That's the argument.
And the flip side, for companies sticking to the old ways, the book uses this really stark image.
Yeah, it's powerful. It talks about companies clinging to those meticulously crafted static strategies, risking becoming relics of a bygone era. Their carefully laid plans end up gathering dust on the shelf, monuments to a world that no longer exists.
Oof, that paints a pretty vivid picture of the stakes here.
It really does. And it emphasizes this isn't just some future prediction. It's not hypothetical. The book points to actual evidence, showing that the early adopters, the companies that have really jumped in and started embedding AI strategically, are already seeing tangible, measurable benefits, real results.
And that's creating a gap.
A widening gap, as the book puts it, between the AI haves and the AI have-nots. So this isn't some theoretical future threat you can put off dealing with. It's presented as an urgent, present-day reality for businesses trying to compete right now. It really underscores why moving beyond those comfortable, static, historical plans is just so critical.
Okay, so if that static snapshot isn't cutting it, How does the actual process of making strategy and adapting it need to change? The book spends a good chunk of time on reimagining the strategic planning process itself, moving away from those periodic, backward-looking cycles.
Right, towards continuous intelligent sensing. This is where AI fundamentally transforms what we used to call, environmental scanning or situational analysis. Think about the old way.
Okay, yeah, that was like commissioning big market research reports, maybe once or twice a year, doing an annual deep dive on competitors, SWOT workshops offsite.
Exactly. Pulling people into a room to brainstorm based on what they already knew or what was in last year's report. And all of that, by definition, relied on data that was already history. By the time you got the report, analyzed it, debated it, the market could have shifted significantly.
So you got the static picture, useful maybe for the moment it was taken, but it aged really fast in a dynamic world.
Like trying to drive by looking at photos of the road taken hours ago, right? It just doesn't work when things are moving quickly.
Okay, so how does AI flip the script here? What does this AI augmented approach actually look like?
The book calls it continuous strategic sensing. It describes AI systems acting like the organizations. Well, it's ever vigilant, 247 eyes and ears on the world,
Always listening, always watching.
constantly monitoring, constantly ingesting data. And not just from the usual places. We're talking about an incredibly vast, incredibly diverse array of external information streams.
Vast and diverse. Give us a flavor. What kind of sources are we talking about here?
Oh, it's extensive. You've got global news feeds being scanned and analyzed in multiple languages using advanced NLP, natural language processing, to pick up not just keywords, but sentiment, themes, emerging narratives.
Okay.
Social media platforms analyzing public sentiment, spotting trends as they bubble up, tracking who the key influencers are becoming in your space. Regulatory agency websites across different countries and sectors keeping tabs on proposed rule changes or new compliance requirements.
So staying ahead of regulatory shifts.
Absolutely. Then there's publicly available competitor digital footprints. This means scraping their websites for changes, monitoring their job postings, which can be a huge tell for new strategic directions or capability building.
Ah, interesting. Like seeing if they're suddenly hiring a lot of AI engineers.
Exactly. Tracking their product announcements, pricing changes, even analyzing the language used in executive communications, like earnings calls or investor day transcripts. Looking for subtle shifts in emphasis.
Going way beyond the official press release.
Way beyond. Plus, you're integrating financial market data, macroeconomic indicators from multiple global sources, newly filed patent databases, which can hint at future technology directions.
Right, seeing what they're trying to protect.
Yeah. Scientific and academic publications for cutting-edge research that might disrupt your industry down the line. Industry analyst reports, of course. And this is increasingly important, what the book calls alternative data.
Alternative data. Okay, that sounds intriguing. What kind of stuff falls into that bucket?
So this is data outside the usual corporate filings or market reports. Think satellite imagery. You can use AI to analyze it to estimate factory output by looking at, say, the number of trucks in a loading bay over time, or to track footfall in retail areas.
Wow, really? From space?
Yeah. Or analyzing shipping and logistics, data bills of lading, container movements, which can give you a near real-time pulse on global trade flows, often weeks or months ahead of official government economic statistics. It's about finding those unique, often predictive data signals that your competitors might be completely missing.
That is an absolutely mind-boggling amount of information, just the sheer volume and variety. How does AI even begin to make sense of that flood?
That's where the AI's core capabilities are absolutely essential. You need advanced NLP for understanding all that text and language. You need computer vision to analyze images and video, like the satellite data or even competitor product teardowns posted online. And you need powerful machine learning algorithms.
Algorithms designed specifically for this.
Exactly. Designed to sift through this immense deluge, as the book calls it, of both structured data, like financial numbers, and unstructured data, like news articles or social media posts. They're designed to find the meaningful patterns, the signals hidden in the noise.
And what kind of signals are we talking about? What can AI spot that maybe humans doing periodic reviews would just miss?
It's often about spotting the subtle, early indicators, emerging trends that are just starting to coalesce, maybe across disparate sources, nuanced shifts in customer sentiment or behavior that you'd only detect by analyzing thousands, maybe millions of interactions, early warnings of competitor moves, maybe a series of small signals that, when combined, point to a new product launch or market entry.
Like connecting the dots automatically.
Precisely. Nascent technological disruptions that are just appearing in research papers or patent filings. potential supply chain vulnerabilities highlighted by anomalies in shipping data, evolving geopolitical risks or regulatory impacts picked up from analyzing government websites or news streams across the globe. The key advantage, the book argues, is that AI identifies these things long before they would be picked up by manual methods or periodic reports.
So it's like having a continuous, intelligent early warning system.
Exactly. And an ongoing intelligence feed, not just a one-off report.
So does this mean something like the classic SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, becomes obsolete, or does it just change?
It changes fundamentally. AI enables a dynamic and contextualized SWOT-OS analysis. Instead of that annual offsite brainstorm, AI is continuously analyzing internal data, maybe operational logs, HR metrics, sales performance, to identify emerging weaknesses and strengths in near real time.
So the internal picture is always current.
Yes. And that external market sensing we just talked about, it surfaces the opportunities and threats much, much faster. And this is crucial. It does so with richer supporting evidence in real-world context. It's not just we think X might be a threat. It's AI analysis of competitor hiring, patent filings, and recent supplier agreements suggests they are gearing up for Y, with Z potential impact on our market share.
That's a lot more specific and actionable.
Totally. And the TOWS matrix, which is about matching your internal strengths to external opportunities or mitigating weaknesses against threats, that also becomes a much more dynamic, data-rich, and continuously updated process. It's informed by what's happening now, not what happened 6 months ago.
Okay, getting all this amazing intelligence flowing constantly is one thing, but how do you actually get it to the right people, the decision makers, in a way they can actually use? You can't just flood the CEO's inbox with raw data feeds, right?
Absolutely not. That would be completely counterproductive. The book really emphasizes the importance of the delivery mechanism. It talks about automated, personalized, and predictive intelligence briefings.
Automated, personalized, and predictive. Okay, break that down.
So AI doesn't just gather the data. It synthesizes the most relevant, most timely signals into customized briefings. These are not generic, one-size-fits-all reports that go out to everyone. They're tailored.
Tailored to specific roles?
Yes, tailored for different leaders. Strategists might get deep dives on specific competitive threats. Business unit heads might get briefings focused on their particular markets or customer segments. The C-suite gets a high-level overview focused on major strategic risks and opportunities. They can be customized by industry, geography, specific strategic concerns, even individual responsibilities.
And these aren't just like news summaries or alerts saying this happened.
No, that's another really critical point the book makes. They move beyond just basic alerts or summaries to provide contextualized insights. That means they don't just flag a trend like trend X is emerging. They try to highlight the potential second-order effects. What are the likely knock-on consequences of that trend for your business, your market, your supply chain?
So thinking through the implications.
Exactly. And they also offer predictive assessments. They might assess how a detected trend or risk is likely to evolve over the next quarter or year based on the patterns the AI is seeing. This whole synthesis process is designed to ensure that leaders receive timely, actionable intelligence rather than being overwhelmed by raw data or generic reports. It's about getting the insight, the so what, derived from the data, not just the raw data itself.
That sounds like a massive upgrade. Moving from like checking the map occasionally to having a constantly updated GPS with traffic, weather, and predictive routing, all tailored to your specific journey.
That's a great analogy. It fundamentally elevates the organization's situational awareness. You're not just reacting anymore, you're anticipating. You're equipped to make strategic adjustments much more proactively and intelligently based on a continuous flow of relevant synthesized information. It enables that dynamic, responsive strategy formulation we talked about.
Okay, so this incredible continuous sensing capability powered by AI is clearly foundational for any kind of dynamic strategy. But like you said, it doesn't just magically appear, does it? The book really hammers home that making this shift requires real deliberate action from the very top. It calls this the executive imperative.
Yeah, that's a huge point made very early and very strongly in the book. This transformation isn't something that just happens organically by adopting a few AI tools.
Right.
It's not something you can just delegate to the IT department or a newly appointed chief AI officer and hope for the best.
Why not? Why is leadership from the top so crucial?
The book describes the journey into this intelligent advantage as a deliberate voyage. It absolutely demands active leadership. It states, pretty bluntly, that the C-suite cannot delegate the AI revolution. Executive ownership of the AI agenda is framed as completely non-negotiable.
And why is that? Why can't a company just empower, say, their chief digital officer or the tech teams to run with it?
Because AI, used strategically, is so deeply transformative. It doesn't just touch technology. It fundamentally impacts every aspect of the business, the core strategy itself, how operations run day to day, how you connect with and understand your customers, how you innovate new products and services, the kind of talent and skills you need across the board, even the fundamental culture of the organization.
It's truly enterprise-wide.
Absolutely. It becomes a primary source of competitive differentiation or potentially disadvantage if you ignore it. And importantly, it introduces new types of risks. Think algorithmic bias, major data privacy concerns, new security vulnerabilities that demand oversight, ethical guidance, and strategic direction from the very highest level of the organization.
So without that C-suite buy-in and understanding,
Without genuine C-suite understanding, active leadership, and ownership, AI initiatives tend to stay siloed. They get stuck focusing on narrow tactical problems within specific departments instead of driving that integrated enterprise-wide strategic transformation the book talks about. They just don't achieve their full potential.
and the book outlines strategic alignment as being absolutely critical right at the start, like the very first dimension of AI readiness.
Yes, Dimension 1, it's all about making sure that AI isn't just this collection of cool, disconnected science projects happening around the company. It needs to be pursued with a clear, unified purpose that's directly and explicitly linked to the overall business strategy.
So how do you achieve that alignment?
It starts, according to the book, with a C-suite-driven AI vision. This needs to be a clear, unified vision developed and championed by the entire executive team. It needs to be communicated effectively down through the whole organization. And crucially, this vision must be explicitly linked to the company's overall strategic objectives. How is AI going to help us achieve our core goals? How will it help us differentiate ourselves and win in the market? Everyone, from the boardroom to the front line, needs to understand why AI matters specifically to this business and what strategic success, enabled by AI, actually looks like.
So it's not just let's do some AI, it's let's use AI to achieve X, Y, and Z strategic outcomes.
Precisely. And those broad strategic outcomes then need to be translated into specifically defined AI use cases with business impact. These aren't just interesting technological experiments. They are prioritized initiatives. Prioritized because they are tied directly to measurable business outcomes.
Like revenue growth or cost reduction.
Exactly. Things like tangible revenue growth, significant operating cost reductions, measurable improvements in customer satisfaction or retention scores, or effectively mitigating specific major business risks. The focus has to be laser sharp on using AI to solve real, significant business problems that move the needle for the company.
And this means the AI strategy itself can't just be a separate document that the tech team owns, right?
No way. It has to be an integrated AI strategy. The book stresses that it needs to be woven directly into the main corporate strategy. It needs to be integrated into departmental planning processes, reflected in how budgets are allocated, how resources are assigned. It's not an add-on or an appendix to the business plan. It's presented as an integral thread running through the core strategic direction of the entire company.
And someone needs to be accountable for making this happen.
Absolutely. Underpinning all of this is the need for clear executive sponsorship and accountability. There must be defined ownership at the executive level, specific leaders tasked with driving the AI strategy forward, overseeing the implementation of key initiatives, and critically, measuring the impact of those initiatives against those predefined business outcomes, holding people accountable for delivering the value.
Now, the book does acknowledge other foundational things you need in place too, right? Like having your data house in order, being digitally mature, having the right talent and culture and proper governance. They're not the core strategic focus of this particular discussion, maybe, but they're essential building blocks.
Oh, absolutely essential. They are the necessary enablers, the launchpad, as you put it earlier. For instance, a robust data governance foundation is completely paramount. The book rightly points out that the old adage, garbage in, garbage out, is, if anything, even more true for AI.
Because the AI learns from the data you feed it.
Exactly. You need high-quality, accurate, reliable, well-managed, and ethically sourced data for AI models to perform effectively and safely. So getting serious about data security, data privacy, data provenance, knowing where your data came from and how it was handled, and clear data ownership. These are critical prerequisites. You can't build an intelligent strategy on shaky data foundations.
And what about digital maturity and platform thinking? How do they enable this?
They're vital for actually scaling AI beyond just isolated pilot projects. The book explains that AI initiatives really thrive in organizations that already have a certain level of digital sophistication. If you're still relying heavily on fragmented legacy systems that don't talk to each other, if you lack robust APIs for data exchange, if you haven't embraced cloud-native infrastructure, you're going to seriously hamper your AI progress.
It makes it harder to connect things and deploy solutions widely.
Much harder. And platform thinking is key here. This means building reusable technical capabilities like shared machine learning platforms, centralized data lakes or warehouses, common AI services, instead of creating bespoke one-off solutions for every single AI project. This platform approach makes it much more efficient and faster to develop, deploy, and scale AI applications across the entire enterprise. You build the infrastructure once and leverage it many times. And then there's the crucial human element, the people, the culture. Huge. Absolutely huge. Talent and culture are presented as foundational pillars. And this goes way beyond just hiring a few PhDs in machine learning, although having specialized AI talent is certainly part of it. It's about building AI fluency across the entire organization.
Meaning everyone needs some level of understanding.
Leaders, managers, employees, they need to understand enough about AI to interact with it effectively, to trust it appropriately, and to identify opportunities where it can help. This often involves having people who can act as AI translators, individuals who can effectively bridge that communication gap between the highly technical AI teams and the business stakeholders who need to use the solutions.
Connecting the tech to the business need.
Exactly, and fostering a culture that truly embraces data-driven decision-making, that encourages experimentation and learning from failures, and that values continuous learning and adaptation in the face of new insights generated by AI. That cultural piece is often the hardest, most important.
And finally, the book mentions governance beyond just the data aspects.
Right, broader AI governance. This includes establishing clear processes for model risk management, understanding, quantifying, and mitigating the risks associated with AI model failures, biases, or unintended consequences. It means developing and consistently adhering to clear ethical AI principles that guide development and deployment.
Like a code of conduct for AI.
Sort of, yes. Having overall AI risk management frameworks that consider the full spectrum of risks from technical failures and security breaches to reputational damage and societal impact, it involves proactively navigating that complex and rapidly evolving regulatory landscape we touched on earlier. And it requires establishing clear roles, responsibilities, and robust oversight structures for how AI is developed, tested, deployed, and monitored throughout the organization. All these foundational elements, data, digital maturity, talent, culture, governance, they're presented not just as nice-to-haves, but as absolute prerequisites to successfully implementing and sustaining a truly dynamic, AI-driven strategy over the long term.
It definitely sounds like you need that solid launch pad before you can really aim for the stars with AI. Okay, this seems like a really good point to pause for a second. We've covered the shift away from static strategy, the power of continuous sensing, and the foundational elements needed. If you listening right now are finding this fascinating and want to go much deeper into how to build this intelligent advantage in your own business,
then the book we've been drawing from is really the place to go. It lays out these concepts in much more detail, with frameworks and practical guidance.
absolutely. It's called Intelligent Advantage, and the author is Ryan Beckett. It's readily available on Amazon. Just search for the title Intelligent Advantage by Ryan Beckett. It really is a comprehensive guide for leaders trying to navigate this AI-driven transformation. We highly recommend checking it out.
Definitely worth a read if this topic resonates with you.
Okay, so assuming you've got that strategic alignment, you're working on those foundations. Now the AI starts to really fuel this dynamic strategy across the different parts of the business, right? Section 4 of the book dives into AI in action across the enterprise, pulling examples from various chapters.
Yeah, this is where, as they say, the rubber meets the road. It shows how AI actually enables the continuous execution and adaptation that a dynamic strategy demands. Let's kick off with transforming operations and supply chain. The book talks about a really significant shift happening here, moving beyond even well-established paradigms like Lean and Six Sigma.
Lean and Six Sigma were huge, all about efficiency, waste reduction, standardizing processes, minimizing variation. They've been foundational for operational excellence for decades.
They absolutely were. And those core principles of efficiency, quality, and eliminating waste remain critically important. But AI adds this powerful new layer, fundamentally changing how you achieve those goals and enabling new levels of performance. The shift is profound. The book characterizes it as moving towards intelligent autonomy.
Intelligent autonomy. Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means shifting from primarily reactive processes to being truly predictive and prescriptive. So instead of waiting for a machine on the factory floor to break down and then rushing to fix it, which is reactive, AI analyzes sensor data in real time to forecast potential failures before they happen. That's predictive.
Okay, so you see it coming.
Exactly. And then it might even recommend the optimal time and specific actions for maintenance to prevent that failure with minimal disruption. That's prescriptive. Or in the supply chain, anticipating a sudden surge in demand based on analyzing social media trends and weather patterns, and proactively suggesting inventory adjustments or rerouting shipments.
And it's not just about reacting better, but optimizing constantly.
Right. Moving from periodic adjustments to continuous automated optimization. Think about traditional process improvement. It often happens during scheduled reviews, maybe quarterly, or as part of specific projects. AI enables optimization to happen constantly, automatically, 247.
How so?
Imagine an AI system monitoring hundreds of process parameters in a chemical plant. Temperatures, pressures, flow rates in real time. It makes tiny continuous adjustments, maybe fractions of a degree or slight changes in valve positions, to keep the output at peak efficiency and quality, far beyond what any human team could possibly monitor and tweak constantly.
And it can look beyond just one machine or one part of the process.
Yes, that's another key shift. From localized improvements to system-wide excellence. AI has the ability to analyze the incredibly complex interdependencies across an entire operational network. That could be a whole factory floor with dozens of interconnected machines, or a global supply chain stretching across continents with multiple suppliers, logistics providers, and distribution centers. AI can optimize the performance of the entire system end to end, identifying bottlenecks and optimizing flows in ways that optimizing individual parts in isolation never could.
It also sounds like the processes themselves become smarter over time.
They do, moving from fixed processes designed once and then run to adaptive learning systems. An AI-powered system isn't necessarily bound by static, hard-coded rules written by a human months or years ago. Take a logistics routing system, for example. It might not just use predefined routes based on historical averages.
It learns.
It learns. It learns from real-time traffic data, from weather forecasts, from actual delivery success rates, maybe even from driver feedback via an app. It dynamically adjusts routes throughout the day, constantly optimizing based on the latest information. The system gets better and more efficient over time as it learns from experience. And critically, AI allows operations to handle the sheer machine-powered scale and complexity required to optimize truly massive systems. Think managing energy flow across a regional power grid second by second, or coordinating the movements of hundreds of autonomous vehicles in a large warehouse or port. Humans just can't process that much data or complexity in real time.
Let's dig into some of the specific operational use cases the book highlights. Predictive maintenance seems like a poster child for this shift you're describing.
It's definitely one of the most widely adopted and impactful applications so far. The concept is straightforward. AI algorithms analyze streams of real-time sensor data coming from machinery and industrial equipment. This could be vibration patterns, temperature fluctuations, acoustic signatures, the sounds the machine makes, oil pressure, motor current draw, lots of things.
Looking for tiny signs of trouble.
Exactly. Subtle anomalies, deviations from normal operating patterns, signatures that are known precursors to specific types of failure. Based on this analysis, the AI can forecast the remaining useful life, RUL, of critical components, or predict when a particular failure mode is likely to occur.
And the payoff for a company doing this, what's the real benefit?
It's huge, especially in manufacturing, energy, transportation, any asset-intensive industry. The primary benefit is dramatically reducing unplanned downtime. Unexpected breakdowns are incredibly costly, not just in repair costs, but in lost production, missed deadlines, and potential safety issues.
I can imagine.
The book cites industry studies suggesting potential reductions of 30% to 50% in unplanned downtime and 10% to 40% in overall maintenance costs, just by shifting from traditional scheduled, time-based, or reactive run-to-failure maintenance to this AI-driven, predictive, and condition-based approach. You fix things before they break, ideally during planned maintenance windows, maximizing asset utilization and extending equipment lifespan.
But you need the sensors and the data flowing, right?
Absolutely. It requires a solid industrial Internet of Things, IoT infrastructure, to capture that sensor data reliably, and integration with your maintenance management systems, like CMMS, so you can actually schedule and act on the predictive insights effectively. Data quality is also paramount here.
Another really fascinating application mentioned is digital twins. What exactly are those?
So digital twin is essentially a dynamic virtual replica of a physical asset, a process, or even an entire system like a factory or a wind farm.
Yeah.
It's not just a static 3D model, it's continuously fed with real-world operational data from its physical counterpart via sensors.
So the virtual model reflects the state of the real thing in real time.
That's the idea. And then AI is used within this virtual environment to run simulations, test different operating scenarios.
Mhm.
What if we increase the speed of this line, predict performance under various conditions, like extreme weather, and optimize the operation of the physical asset or process based on the insights gained from those simulations?
Give me an example, like creating a virtual copy of a production line to test changes.
Exactly. You could simulate the impact of rearranging machines, changing process parameters, or introducing new automation on throughput and quality before you spend a dime or disrupt the actual factory floor. The strategic value is immense. In product design, you can simulate how a new product design will perform under stress or fatigue over its lifetime without building dozens of physical prototypes.
Saving time and money.
Big time. In process optimization, as we said, you can fine-tune manufacturing lines or logistics networks virtually. It enables much more effective remote monitoring and control of assets. And yes, it significantly enhances predictive maintenance because you can simulate wear and tear on the virtual twin based on the actual operating data from the physical asset. It's a powerful tool, but it does demand significant capabilities in data integration, complex modeling, and computational power.
Okay, what about AI-powered quality inspection and control? That sounds like a very direct application.
It is, and it's another area with very clear ROI. Using computer vision, basically. AI analyzing images or video feeds from cameras on the production line companies can automate the process of identifying defects or anomalies in products as they're being manufactured.
Better than human inspectors.
Often, yes. Especially in high-speed manufacturing, or when looking for very subtle defects that are hard for the human eye to catch consistently over a long shift. AI models can be trained to spot scratches, cracks, misalignments, color deviations, missing components, etc., often faster and more accurately than humans. The book mentions potential reductions in defect rates of up to 90% in some specific applications.
90%. That would have a massive impact on scrap, rework, and warranty costs.
Absolutely huge. It also increases throughput because the automated inspection can keep pace with fast production lines. And it can aid in root cause analysis. If the AI logs the exact time, machine, and type of defect, you can correlate that data with process parameters to figure out why the defects are happening much faster. Of course, it requires careful setup, good lighting, high-resolution cameras, collecting enough data to train the AI effectively, and ongoing calibration.
And you mentioned earlier combining AI with robotics.
Right, leading to smart robotics and autonomous systems. Traditional industrial robots are great at repetitive tasks in highly structured environments, but they're often dumb. They just follow pre-programmed paths. AI gives robots intelligence.
How so?
Using sensors like cameras and LiDAR combined with AI algorithms, robots gain the ability to perceive their environment, to recognize objects, to understand context. This enables them to make decisions in real time, like adaptive path planning, figuring out how to navigate around an unexpected obstacle instead of just stopping. And they can even learn from experience, improving their performance over time.
So this allows for new types of automation.
Yes, it enables things like collaborative robots or cobots, which are designed to work safely alongside human workers on tasks that might require dexterity, judgment, or interaction. And it powers autonomous mobile robots, AMRs, that can intelligently navigate complex and dynamic environments like warehouses or hospital floors to transport materials or perform other tasks without needing fixed tracks or predefined routes.
Making automation much more flexible, adaptable, and capable of handling more complex, less structured tasks.
Exactly. It enhances flexibility on the factory floor, improves safety by automating hazardous or ergonomically challenging tasks, and helps optimize labor by freeing up human workers to focus on higher value, more cognitive activities where their skills are really needed.
Okay, let's pivot slightly to something absolutely critical for both managing operations efficiently and driving sales: demand planning. Traditionally, this has often relied heavily on historical sales data, which, as we know, can be a poor predictor when things suddenly change.
Yeah, AI-powered predictive demand planning represents a massive leap forward here. Instead of basing forecasts primarily on what you sold last year or last quarter, machine learning models can analyze a much vaster and more diverse array of data sources simultaneously.
What kind of data are we talking about beyond just past sales?
You still use historical sales data, of course, but you layer on top of that promotional calendars, what marketing campaigns are running, product lifecycle stages. Is this a new product launch or nearing end of life? And critically, deep customer behavior data. This could be website clickstream data showing browsing patterns, content consumption on your site, CRM data on interactions, social media mentions and sentiment, loyalty program activity, really understanding customer interest signals.
And does it go beyond the company's own internal data?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
This is where the predictive power really gets a boost. The best models integrate critical external factors. Things like macroeconomic indicators, is consumer confidence up or down, competitor actions, did a major rival just launch a big sale, weather forecasts, huge for seasonal products or retail footfall, local events, is there a big conference or festival happening near your stores, social media trends, is a particular style suddenly taking off, even geospatial data related to specific locations.
Wow, that's complex.
It is. And also incorporating supply chain signals, understanding current lead times from suppliers, or potential disruptions that might impact availability. AI's power is in its ability to process all these diverse, complex, often unstructured data streams simultaneously and find the hidden correlations that drive future demand. Humans simply can't do that level of multi-factor analysis.
And the benefits of getting this right, what are the key outcomes?
They are really substantial. First, you get reduced stockouts, meaning fewer lost sales because you didn't have the product customers wanted. Second, you get reduced excess inventory, which lowers carrying costs, reduces waste, especially for perishable goods, and frees up working capital.
So better inventory management overall.
Definitely. This leads to improved production scheduling and better resource allocation because your forecasts are more accurate further into the future. It significantly enhances financial planning because you have more reliable revenue predictions. And perhaps most strategically important in today's volatile world, it provides greater agility and responsiveness.
How so?
Because these AI models aren't static annual forecasts. They are constantly being fed new data, latest sales figures, real-time social media sentiment, updated economic indicators. This allows the models to update the demand forecasts in near real time as conditions change. Demand planning moves from being a static, periodic exercise to a dynamic living process that reflects the current market reality, allowing the business to adapt much faster. It can even help forecast demand for brand new products for which you have no historical sales data by using techniques like attribute-based modeling, comparing to similar products, or look-alike modeling based on early adopter signals.
That sounds like a game changer for planning. The book also mentions intelligent process automation, or IPA. How is that different from the more common robotic process automation, RPA?
Good question. IPA essentially builds on RPA by adding more intelligence. RPA is fantastic at automating highly repetitive, rules-based tasks involving structured data, like copying data from one system to another or filling out standard forms. It follows very rigid, pre-programmed rules.
Okay, so IPA goes beyond those simple rules.
Exactly. IPA incorporates AI capabilities, like natural language processing, NLP, which allows the automation to understand intent. Think of a sophisticated chatbot that can understand a customer's query in natural language, not just respond to specific keywords. Or machine learning, which enables the automation to access, synthesize, and interpret information from unstructured sources, like emails or documents.
So it can handle more complex, less predictable tasks.
Yes. IPA systems can make more nuanced decisions based on the information they process, handle exceptions or variations that weren't explicitly programmed into the rules, and perform tasks that require a degree of understanding, judgment, or adaptability. This makes the automated workflows more resilient, more flexible, and capable of handling a wider range of business processes than traditional RPA alone.
And finally, in the operations space, how does all this incredible data being generated by machines and processes tie into the Internet of Things, IoT?
The integration of IoT and Edge AI is absolutely fundamental to making intelligent operations a reality. Think of the billions of IoT devices out there, sensors on machines, connected vehicles, smart meters, wearables in the warehouse. They're like the sensory organs of the modern operation, constantly collecting vast amounts of real-time data about the physical world.
Gathering the raw information.
Right. Then AI acts as the brain. It processes that torrent of data, extracts meaningful insights, predicts future states, and can even trigger automated actions based on those insights. This creates a powerful, continuous loop. data, insight, action. Again, it's often happening right where the activity is taking place.
And you mentioned edge AI. What's the significance of doing AI processing at the edge? Why not just send all the data to the cloud for analysis?
That's a really important distinction. Edge AI means running the AI algorithms directly on or very close to the IoT device itself at the edge of the network, near the data source, rather than sending everything back to a centralized cloud server first. There are several key strategic advantages to doing this.
Like what?
First is latency, or speed. For critical, real-time actions, like triggering an emergency shutdown of a machine if AI detects an imminent failure, or making an instant quality control decision on a high-speed production line, you need microsecond response times. Sending data to the cloud and back introduces delays that might be unacceptable. Edge AI enables those near-instantaneous decisions.
Makes sense for time-critical stuff. What else?
Second is bandwidth. Sending continuous streams of raw data, like high-definition video for quality inspection or high-frequency vibration data for maintenance, from thousands of sensors to the cloud, can consume enormous amounts of network bandwidth and become very expensive. With Edge AI, you process the data locally and often only send the results, the insights, or alerts back to the central system, significantly reducing bandwidth requirements.
Okay, so cost and network efficiency.
Third is security and privacy. For sensitive data, maybe patient data from medical devices or proprietary operational data processing it locally at the edge, can enhance security and privacy by minimizing data transmission and keeping sensitive information contained.
Right, keeping it closer to the source.
And fourth is reliability and autonomy. Edge AI allows devices or systems to continue operating intelligently, even if their connection to the central network is intermittent or lost completely. Think of an autonomous vehicle needing to make split-second decisions, or a remote wind turbine that needs to adjust its blades based on local wind conditions, even if its satellite link goes down. Edge AI provides that local intelligence and resilience.
So putting it all together, operations become not just leaner or faster, but truly intelligent, interconnected, predictive, and adaptive in a way that just wasn't possible before AI.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift towards a level of operational responsiveness, optimization, and resilience that really is a whole different ballgame.
Okay, let's switch gears now. Operations is one huge area, but AI is also profoundly transforming how companies interact with the outside world, particularly their customers.
Right.
Let's talk about transforming customer experience.
This is another area where the book highlights truly game-changing applications of AI. It really starts with getting a much, much deeper and more holistic understanding of the customer than was ever possible before. This begins with holistic data integration and synthesis.
Meaning pulling together data from more places than just the traditional CRM system.
Way beyond the traditional CRM, AI systems are capable of ingesting, integrating, cleaning, and synthesizing data from a far wider array of sources.
Yeah.
Yes, you pull in the structured data from your CRM and maybe your ERP system, contact info, purchase history, basic demographics. But then you layer on top of that all the transactional data, website clickstream data, showing exactly how they navigate your site, what content they consume.
What pages they linger on, what they search for.
Exactly. Call center interaction logs, maybe even transcripts or summaries generated by AI.
Yeah.
Email communications, social media activity. What are they saying about your brand or industry publicly? Data from IoT devices, if they own your connected products, how are they actually using them? And potentially even relevant third-party data sources that provide additional demographic, psychographic, or behavioral context.
That's a staggering amount of customer data points. How does AI make sense of it all?
It uses advanced techniques like deep learning and graph analytics to find the complex patterns and connections across all these disparate, messy, structured and unstructured sources. The goal is to build a rich, multi-dimensional, and this is key, continuously updated 360-degree view of each individual customer. It's not a static profile created once. It evolves with every new interaction.
Can you give an example of linking those sources?
Sure. Imagine AI linking a customer's negative sentiment expressed on social media about a confusing new product feature to their subsequent website activity, where they spend a long time on the support pages for that feature, and then correlating that with a drop in their usage of the product tracked via IoT data, ultimately predicting an increased risk of churn for that specific customer. That requires connecting multiple, very different data points.
I see. So you get a much deeper, always current picture of each customer's reality.
Exactly. And it moves beyond just knowing what a customer did in the past towards understanding what they might do next, or even what they implicitly want or need but haven't explicitly stated. This is about uncovering latent needs and intent.
Latent needs, like things they don't even realize they want.
Or things they're frustrated by but haven't formally complained about. AI, especially using NLP to analyze customer feedback from surveys, reviews, support tickets, forum posts, even analyzing search queries on your website or browsing patterns, can identify these unspoken pain points or emerging desires. Maybe it detects a recurring theme across hundreds of support interactions, like customers consistently saying it was confusing to set up, even if they didn't file a formal bug report. That flags a clear issue with onboarding or documentation. Or it might infer future purchase intent for a specific product category based on a sequence of browsing behaviors and content downloads, even if the customer hasn't added anything to their cart yet. This allows the business to be proactive, maybe offering targeted help content or suggesting relevant products before the customer even asks.
This sounds like it requires a very sophisticated understanding of language and behavior, not just keywords.
It really does.
Yeah.
Understanding context and nuance is critical. AI models are getting much better at differentiating subtle sentiment, recognizing sarcasm or frustration versus genuine enthusiasm in text. They can piece together interactions that happen across multiple different touchpoints over several days or weeks to understand the full customer journey. And they can correlate customer behavior with external factors, like recommending umbrellas if the weather forecast in their location shows rain, to ensure that interactions and offers are appropriate, timely, and genuinely helpful, not just generic spam. It makes the interaction feel much more intelligent and considerate from the customer's perspective.
And you mentioned those customer profiles aren't static, they keep changing.
That's right, they become dynamic and evolving customer profiles. Think of them not as static records in a database, but as living profiles that learn and evolve in real time with every new piece of data, every interaction, every purchase, every change in behavior, every new preference expressed.
So they get smarter about the customer over time.
Exactly. They incorporate predictive models that estimate things like a customer's future potential value, like predicting churn risk or customer lifetime value, CLV. And they enable personalization that adapts automatically based on inferred life events, like AI detecting signals suggesting a customer might be moving house or expecting a child, or rapidly changing interests identified through their recent online behavior. It's a continuous learning loop, constantly refining the understanding of each individual.
And having this incredibly rich real-time understanding that unlocks the ability to interact in real time too.
Yes, leading directly to real-time modeling and adaptation. AI can process the signals coming from customer interactions almost instantaneously. This enables things like truly dynamic personalization.
Meaning the website changes as I browse?
Precisely. Modifying website content, changing product recommendations, adjusting offers or promotions in real time based on your current browsing session behavior, your location, the time of day, maybe even inferred intent from your search terms. It moves beyond segment-based personalization to true one-to-one personalization that adapts moment by moment.
What else can it do in real time?
It allows contextual assistance and proactive support. For example, if AI detects you're struggling to fill out a complex online form, maybe you're pausing for a long time or going back and forth, it could proactively offer a chat session with an agent or automatically surface a relevant FAQ article right there on the page. And it powers adaptive journey orchestration.
Guiding the customer.
Kinda, yeah. Guiding customers through what the AI predicts will be the optimal, most relevant, personalized path across different channels, moving seamlessly from web to mobile app to email to maybe even an in-store interaction based on their real-time actions, their history, and their predicted needs at that specific moment in their journey.
This level of understanding must also be critical for things like anticipating when a customer might leave or identifying your most valuable clients.
Absolutely. Predictive customer analytics is a core application area discussed in the book. AI models analyze a wide range of data usage patterns. How often do they use your service? Transactional history, service interaction logs. How often do they call support? Are they satisfied? Demographic data, contractual information. When is their subscription up for renewal? Marketing engagement. Do they open your emails? To build highly accurate churn prediction models.
And the benefit there is obvious. You can try to save them before they go.
Exactly. It enables proactive retention efforts. You can reach out to those customers identified as high risk with targeted offers, personalized support, or specific interventions designed to address their likely reasons for leaving before they actually churn. Similarly, AI is very effective at predicting future customer lifetime value, CLV.
Looking beyond just past purchases to future potential.
Right. Using all those factors, subscription tier, product usage intensity, support history, maybe even their industry or company size for B2B AI, can build models that predict the total future value a customer is likely to bring. The book gives a great example of a SaaS company using AI-predicted CLV scores to automatically assign their best account managers to the clients with the highest future potential, or proactively offering strategic advice, early access to beta features, or premium support only to those high CLV clients, maximizing the return on those relationship investments.
And what about reaching customers at just the right moment when they're actively looking or ready to buy?
That's what the book refers to as micro-moment marketing. AI plays a crucial role here by identifying those fleeting moments when a customer signals high intent. This could be a specific search query they just typed into Google, a pattern of browsing behavior across your site and maybe competitor sites, or even their physical location detected via a mobile app, like entering a specific store.
Capturing that moment of intent.
Yes. And then the AI enables the instantaneous delivery of a highly personalized message, offer, or piece of relevant content that is perfectly timed and contextually appropriate for that specific micro moment. This requires that deep, real-time customer understanding we talked about, plus instantaneous data processing and the technical capability to deliver the right content or offer through the right channel at exactly the right time. It transforms marketing from broad campaign-based approaches to highly precise, individually relevant interactions delivered exactly when they matter most to the customer.
It's clear AI is revolutionizing operations and customer engagement, but the book also details how it's fundamentally changing another critical function, innovation itself. Section 4 also gets into how AI is reinventing innovation.
Yeah, this is a really exciting area. The book contrasts the traditional innovation pipeline, which it characterized as often being quite linear, very resource-intensive, taking a long time, and being inherently uncertain with a new AI-augmented approach.
What were the limitations of the traditional pipeline?
Well, it was often limited by human biases in brainstorming sessions or design choices. It was constrained by the sheer processing power of human teams trying to analyze options. And it was significantly held back by the cost and time required to build physical prototypes, run tests, gather feedback, and then iterate. This whole process often favored more incremental improvements rather than radical breakthroughs because the risks and costs of failure were so high.
Okay, so how does AI change that dynamic?
It transforms innovation from that linear, stage-gated process into more of a dynamic, ongoing organizational capability. The book calls this AI-augmented innovation. AI allows companies to explore a much, much wider range of potential ideas or solutions right at the beginning, often with greater initial insight into their potential feasibility or market fit based on data analysis.
So better ideation.
Better and broader ideation, yes. Then it allows for more rigorous and much more efficient validation of concepts early on. Instead of relying solely on slow, expensive methods like focus groups or pilot projects, you can use AI-powered predictive analytics and simulations to test concepts virtually and get faster feedback.
Testing ideas digitally before committing resources.
Exactly. And it enables much more rapid iteration through accelerated learning loops. You can design, simulate, get feedback, refine, and simulate again much faster. Essentially, AI significantly increases the probability of successful innovation, reduces the risk and costs associated with pursuing bold new ideas, and makes that popular mantra of fail fast, learn faster, genuinely more achievable by dramatically speeding up the entire experimentation cycle.
Does AI actually participate in the creation of new products or solutions, or just the analysis?
It actually participates in creation, which is fascinating. This is through generative design and intelligent R&D. AI becomes, as the book puts it, a kind of creative and engineering partner.
How does that work?
Instead of human designers starting with a blank slate and sketching out potential solutions based on their experience and intuition, they can input the desired requirements, performance parameters, material constraints, and cost targets into an AI system. The AI then uses sophisticated algorithms, often inspired by natural processes like evolution, to autonomously generate and evaluate potentially thousands or even millions of possible design options that meet those constraints.
Generating designs humans might not even think of?
Precisely. For example, in mechanical engineering, there's something called topology optimization. AI can figure out the absolute optimal distribution of material within a design space to achieve maximum strength with minimum weight, often resulting in these very organic-looking counterintuitive structures that a human engineer would be unlikely to design manually, but which are incredibly efficient. AI can rapidly explore vast design spaces that are simply too large for humans to search comprehensively, and can simulate the performance of these generated designs under various conditions. It truly participates in the genesis of novel solutions.
So AI isn't just helping analyze the innovation process, it's becoming a co-creator.
Exactly, a powerful co-creator. And this innovation isn't limited to just happening inside the company's own walls.
Mm.
The book also discusses how AI is acting as a catalyst for ecosystem innovation.
Meaning innovating with partners, suppliers, or customers.
Yes, enabling deeper, more dynamic collaboration and co-creation between an organization and its entire external ecosystem.
Can you give us an example of how AI facilitates that?
Enhanced supply chain visibility and resilience, which we touched on in operations, is actually a great example of ecosystem innovation too. When AI analyzes diverse data points from across the entire supply chain, maybe real-time inventory levels at key suppliers, GPS tracking data from logistics providers, port congestion information, weather patterns impacting transit, real-time demand signals from retailers, it can create a truly transparent, shared, and predictive view of the entire ecosystem status.
So everyone involved sees the same picture.
Ideally, yes. This shared intelligence allows all the partners in the chain, the manufacturer, the suppliers, the logistics companies, the distributors, to make proactive adjustments together. Maybe dynamically rerouting shipments to avoid disruption, collaboratively adjusting production schedules based on updated demand forecasts, or jointly managing inventory levels more efficiently. Sharing this AI-derived intelligence builds collective resilience across the entire network, benefiting everyone, not just one company.
What about actually developing products together with partners?
Collaborative product development can also be significantly enhanced by AI. Imagine using shared digital twins of complex products, like an aircraft engine, where multiple partners responsible for different components can work on and simulate their parts simultaneously within a unified virtual environment managed by AI. Or perhaps using federated generative design platforms where different partners can input their specific constraints or requirements. And AI helps generate integrated design solutions that optimize across the entire system, involving multiple partners' contributions. AI can manage the complexity and facilitate that coordination.
And linking partner capabilities for the end customer.
Right. Personalized customer experiences through partner integration. This is where AI acts as an orchestrator, seamlessly weaving together data and services from various ecosystem partners to create a single, integrated, and personalized experience for the end customer. Think about an AI-powered travel planning assistant. It doesn't just book a flight. It accesses data and APIs from airlines, hotels, ground transportation providers, maybe local tour operators or restaurant booking platforms, and uses AI to intelligently assemble a complete, personalized itinerary that optimizes convenience, preferences, and cost, coordinating across all those different partners behind the scenes. The AI manages the complexity to deliver a simple, unified experience.
It's becoming incredibly clear listening to all this. AI isn't just another tool set, it's fundamentally reshaping the very basis of how companies compete. Section 5 of the book introduces this powerful concept, a new engine of competition called algorithmic advantage.
This is a really critical concept the book develops. It argues that AI is creating a fundamentally new and potentially much more durable source of competitive advantage. It defines algorithmic advantage as a company's superior ability to leverage its proprietary algorithms.
Okay, so custom-built algorithms.
Proprietary algorithms, yes, which are fueled by unique, often proprietary data sources, and then crucially, are continuously refined and improved through ongoing learning loops.
So they get better over time.
Exactly. And the purpose is to make consistently better predictions, to automate more effective decisions, and to deliver truly personalized experiences at scale in ways that competitors simply cannot match. It's fundamentally about outperforming your rivals not just through having a slightly better product or a more efficient process, but through having AI systems algorithms fueled by data that deliver demonstrably superior outcomes for the business and for its customers.
And the book suggests this advantage builds on itself through a kind of cycle.
Yes, it describes a powerful, often self-reinforcing compounding cycle. It really starts with the synergistic combination of proprietary algorithms plus unique data. You need both working together. One without the other is much less powerful. The algorithms need fuel, and that fuel is data.
And not just any data, right?
No. The book stresses it needs to be high quality, accurate, relevant, and ideally proprietary or unique in some way. It also needs to be diverse and voluminous enough to train powerful models. Think about valuable first-party customer data that nobody else has access to, unique operational sensor data coming from your specific machinery or processes, perhaps curated research data you've invested heavily in creating, or data gained through exclusive partnerships. The distinctiveness and uniqueness of the data are presented as being just as important, if not more so, than the sheer volume alone. That unique data is a key differentiator.
Okay, so you have unique data feeding proprietary algorithms. What happens next in the cycle?
Algorithmic refinement and adaptation. This is the learning part. As the AI models process more data, especially new unique data generated through customer interactions or operations, they are continuously retrained, fine-tuned, and improved. This process, often managed systematically through MLOps, machine learning operations practices, enhances the accuracy, the predictive power, the efficiency, and the scope of the algorithms. The key insight here is that the algorithm doesn't just perform a static task, it evolves. It gets smarter and more effective the more it's used and the more relevant data it sees.
And that improvement translates into tangible benefits.
Yes, which results in improved user experience and outcomes. Better algorithms directly lead to better products, smarter services, and superior experiences for the end user. Think about more relevant product recommendations on an e-commerce site that actually feel helpful, not creepy. More reliable predictive maintenance alerts that prevent costly breakdowns, faster and more accurate fraud detection that protects customers without causing unnecessary friction, more personalized content or learning pathways that truly adapt to individual needs. The outcomes improve because the underlying intelligence improves,
And those better experiences naturally attract and keep customers.
which drives increased user engagement, acquisition, and loyalty. A demonstrably superior experience powered by better algorithms naturally attracts new users, encourages existing users to engage more frequently and deeply with the product or service, and builds strong customer loyalty. And here's the kicker. This increased engagement, this loyal user base, it generates even more data, more usage data, more interaction data, more feedback.
Closing the loop. That new data feeds back into the beginning of the cycle.
Exactly. It feeds back into refining and improving the proprietary algorithms, making them even better, which leads to even better experiences, which attracts more users, generating more data. You see the cycle. It becomes a self-reinforcing flywheel.
A virtuous cycle for the company that has it.
Precisely. And in certain types of businesses, particularly digital platforms or marketplaces, this cycle can create extremely powerful network effects. More users bring more data, which makes the platform's AI better at its core function, maybe matching buyers and sellers, recommending content or connections, personalizing feeds. This improved functionality attracts even more users to that platform versus competitors, creating significant barriers to entry. The book describes how this can potentially lead to winner-takes-most or even winner-takes-all dynamics in certain markets, where a leading algorithmic advantage becomes incredibly difficult for competitors to challenge once established.
This sounds like it requires a fundamental rethink of competitive strategy and where companies should be investing.
It absolutely does. The book argues it has profound strategic implications. For one, it really redefines what constitutes valuable intellectual property, IP. It's not just about holding static patents on a specific invention anymore, although that can still be relevant. Algorithmic advantage represents a much more dynamic, evolving, and potentially more defensible form of IP. It's the synergistic combination of your unique proprietary model architectures, the distinctive training data you possess and continue to generate, the continuous feedback loops you've built to refine the models, the specialized talent that develops and manages these complex systems, and the agile processes you use to deploy, monitor, and iterate on them rapidly. It's a living learning asset.
So the strategic focus shifts from optimizing things you own to building capabilities that learn.
That's a great way to put it. The strategic focus moves away from just optimizing fixed, depreciating assets like factories or physical stores towards actively building and cultivating these appreciating learning capabilities. The core competency increasingly becomes the organization's ability to acquire unique data, develop sophisticated algorithms to leverage that data, rapidly iterate and improve those algorithms based on new information, and deploy them effectively and responsibly across the business to drive outcomes. The ability to learn and adapt faster than your competitors becomes, as the book says, a primary engine of enduring value.
And you mentioned this compounding advantage can lead to markets becoming more concentrated.
Yes, those potential winner-takes-most dynamics are a significant implication. If one company builds a strong algorithmic advantage flywheel, it can become progressively harder for others to catch up, potentially leading to increased market concentration over time. And evaluating whether a company is successfully building this advantage requires new metrics.
Beyond just looking at revenue or profit margins?
It's exactly. Traditional financial metrics are still important, obviously, but they don't tell the whole story about algorithmic prowess. You need to augment them with metrics that assess the underlying drivers of that advantage. Things like, what's the quality, uniqueness, and refresh rate of our key data assets? How accurate, efficient, and scalable are our core algorithms compared to alternatives? How fast are our learning cycles? How quickly can we retrain and deploy improved models? What's the measurable impact on key outcomes like personalization effectiveness, customer engagement, prediction accuracy, or automation rates? The book notes that sophisticated investors are increasingly starting to scrutinize these underlying factors when evaluating companies, especially in tech-driven sectors.
The book does briefly touch on some significant challenges involved in building and maintaining this algorithmic advantage, doesn't it? Like the difficulty of the labeling pipeline.
Yes, that's a very real, practical challenge that often gets underestimated. For many of the most powerful types of supervised machine learning, the AI needs to be trained on large volumes of high-quality labeled data, meaning data where the correct answer or outcome has already been tagged, usually by humans. Creating and maintaining that labeling pipeline, ensuring accuracy, consistency, managing the human annotators, often called human in the loop, or employing advanced techniques like active learning, weak supervision, or synthetic data generation to reduce the manual burden, is a major operational and often strategic bottleneck. It requires significant investment, process discipline, and ongoing management. It's often less glamorous than building the algorithm, but it's absolutely critical.
And what about the risk of these powerful algorithms being attacked or manipulated somehow?
That's another significant and growing concern: adversarial learning and model manipulation risks. As AI becomes more critical to business operations and strategy, it also becomes a more attractive target for malicious actors. The book touches on several types of risks here. Things like data poisoning, where attackers try to subtly corrupt the data used to train an AI model, causing it to make incorrect predictions, or even embed hidden biases or backdoors. Model evasion, where attackers try to craft inputs specifically designed to fool a deployed AI model, like altering an image slightly, so a computer vision system misclassifies it. Model inversion, or membership inference attacks, where attackers try to extract sensitive information about the model's training data or its internal architecture by probing it. Even attempts to steal valuable proprietary models or manipulate the entire algorithmic ecosystem a business relies on, maybe by manipulating recommendation engines or pricing algorithms through fake accounts or coordinated behavior. These are significant new security and competitive challenges that require ongoing vigilance, robust defenses, and proactive strategies.
Okay, so we've established that AI enables this dynamic strategy, it transforms core business functions, and it creates this powerful new engine of competition through algorithmic advantage. But as you just highlighted, navigating this fast-changing AI-driven future isn't exactly straightforward. It's complex, it has risks. Section 6 of the book looks ahead at navigating the horizon, covering things like the evolving governance landscape and future AI capabilities.
Right. The book is careful not to paint an overly simplistic picture. It acknowledges that this dynamic, intelligent future isn't without significant complexities and challenges that leaders need to grapple with proactively. A major one is the whole landscape of regulatory futures and ethical shifts.
Things are changing fast on that front, aren't they?
Incredibly fast. The era where AI could largely be developed and deployed in a kind of regulatory and ethical vacuum with minimal external scrutiny is clearly ending. We're seeing governance frameworks emerging and evolving rapidly around the world. The EU AI Act is a major example, setting precedents for regulating AI applications based on their level of risk.
And this isn't just a side issue for the legal team anymore, it's strategic.
Absolutely. The book frames it as a central strategic consideration for leaders, successfully balancing the imperative to innovate and leverage AI's power with the critical need to mitigate the associated risks related to bias, fairness, privacy, security, transparency, accountability, environmental impact, job displacement, and upholding core ethical values.
Yeah.
This is becoming non-negotiable. It's not just about legal compliance anymore. It directly impacts a company's competitive advantage, its brand reputation with customers and the public, its ability to attract and retain talent, and ultimately its long-term sustainability and social license to operate.
So companies need robust internal guardrails.
Yes, this requires building robust and agile internal AI governance structures. These need to be embedded throughout the entire AI lifecycle, from the initial conception and design phases through development and testing, into deployment and ongoing monitoring and maintenance. This might involve establishing internal AI ethics boards or review committees, implementing rigorous risk assessment frameworks for every significant AI initiative, ensuring meticulous attention to data integrity and provenance, prioritizing transparency and explainability where feasible and appropriate, and establishing clear lines of accountability for AI outcomes. And underpinning all of this is the need to champion and cultivate a broader culture of responsible AI throughout the entire organization, making ethical considerations everyone's responsibility.
So, anticipating these shifts, thinking ahead about risks and regulations, that becomes part of the dynamic strategy itself.
Precisely. It demands proactive executive foresight. Leaders can't just react to new regulations or ethical challenges after they emerge. They need to anticipate plausible futures. The book discusses how AI itself can help with this. Horizon scanning, automated by AI, is key.
Using AI to look further ahead.
Exactly. Those same AI systems monitoring vast external data sources for immediate threats and opportunities can also be tuned to look for weak signals, those faint early indicators that might hint at significant future shifts, whether technological, societal, economic, or regulatory. AI can synthesize these into forward-looking foresight briefings tailored for leadership, helping them look beyond the immediate pressures and consider longer-term potential disruptions or transformations, even those originating outside their current industry.
And can AI help with more structured future planning like scenario analysis?
Yes, scenario narratives and planning. Human teams are often limited in the number and diversity of future scenarios they can realistically explore due to time and cognitive biases. AI can help generate a much wider range of plausible future scenarios based on combinations of drivers identified through horizon scanning. It can also help quantify the potential impacts of different scenarios on the business and stress test current strategies against them much more rigorously. This allows for a more robust exploration of uncertainties and helps challenge embedded assumptions about how the future is likely to unfold. The book mentions how some strategic foresight firms are already using AI for this purpose.
And finding those really faint signals you mentioned.
That's weak signal mapping and analysis. This involves using AI algorithms specifically designed to detect very faint patterns, unusual deviations from established norms, or seemingly unconnected data points across vast data sets that might be early indicators of significant changes or emerging disruptions long before they become obvious trends. It's about creating truly forward-looking early warning systems that can feed into strategic planning and risk management.
The book also peers even further over the horizon, looking at some emerging AI trends that are likely to further shape this landscape in the coming years.
It highlights a few particularly important ones to watch. Foundation models are obviously huge right now. These are the large general-purpose AI models like GPT-4 or Claude, trained on absolutely massive data sets that can be adapted, fine-tuned for a wide variety of downstream tasks, powering much of the current generative AI revolution. Their power and versatility are immense, but they also raise significant questions around cost, control, bias, security, and require very careful governance.
What else is emerging?
Multimodal AI is another key trend. This refers to AI systems capable of processing, understanding, and integrating information from multiple different types or modalities of data simultaneously: text, images, audio, video, sensor data, etc. This allows for a much richer, more nuanced, and more human-like understanding of complex situations. Think of AI analyzing both the text and the images in a product review to get a fuller picture of the customer sentiment.
And you mentioned the convergence of AI and IoT earlier.
Yes, that deeper convergence, often termed AIoT, artificial intelligence of things, is a major ongoing trend. As more devices become connected and generate data, and as AI algorithms become more powerful and efficient, we'll see increasingly intelligent environments where sensing, analysis, and automated decision-making happen seamlessly, leading to enhanced efficiency, hyper-personalization, and new autonomous capabilities.
And then there's the really futuristic stuff like quantum AI.
That's definitely a longer-term prospect, but one with potentially revolutionary implications. It explores the intersection of AI and quantum computing. While large-scale, fault-tolerant quantum computers are still some way off, they hold the theoretical potential to dramatically accelerate certain types of AI computations, particularly the training of extremely complex models or solving certain optimization problems that are currently intractable for even the most powerful classical supercomputers. It might even enable the development of entirely new types of quantum-inspired AI algorithms with capabilities we can't fully envision yet. The book emphasizes that this convergence of AI with other powerful technologies, IoT, quantum computing, biotech, advanced materials, etc., is likely to be a major catalyst for exponential innovation in the coming decades. But it also significantly increases complexity and potential risks, demanding broader technological fluency and highly adaptive leadership from organizations wanting to navigate that future successfully.
Wow, okay. All this incredible insight into how AI is enabling dynamic strategy, transforming operations and customer interactions, creating algorithmic advantage, and shaping the future horizon. It really brings us right back to the individual leader sitting in the C-suite or running a business unit. The book makes it incredibly clear, doesn't it, that successfully embedding AI and navigating this whole complex dynamic shift requires way more than just hiring some data scientists or investing in the latest algorithms. Section 7 really focuses in on the leadership challenge building AI fluency.
That really is the crux of it, the critical enabler or potentially the biggest bottleneck. The book emphasizes repeatedly that leading effectively in this emerging age demands a C-suite and indeed leaders at multiple levels who possess genuine AI fluency.
And that doesn't mean they need to become AI experts themselves.
No, not at all. It's not about executives needing to learn how to code Python or build neural networks. It's about them developing a sophisticated understanding of AI, what it fundamentally is, what it can realistically do today and what it can't, what its key strategic implications are for their business and industry, and what the associated risks and ethical considerations involve. An understanding that goes far beyond just reciting the latest buzzwords. This fluency is presented as absolutely essential for making informed strategic decisions about AI investments, for providing effective oversight of AI initiatives happening within the organization, and for fostering the kind of organizational culture that can truly embrace and leverage AI effectively. The book doesn't mince words. It calls achieving this fluency an undeniable imperative for modern leadership.
So if you're a non-technical executive listening to this, what are the key competencies you need to focus on developing to build that fluency? The book highlights some specific ones.
It does. It breaks it down into some very practical capabilities. One of the most critical is the ability for strategic framing of AI initiatives.
Meaning connecting AI projects back to the business strategy.
Precisely. Leaders must be able to clearly articulate how any proposed AI project or investment directly links to the organization's overarching strategic objectives, its desired market positioning, and its core value proposition. It's about being able to prioritize AI initiatives based not just on technical feasibility, but on their potential strategic impact and measurable return on investment, ROI. It involves understanding how AI is shifting the competitive landscape in your industry and where it can create genuine differentiation. And it means defining clear success metrics for AI projects that are tied directly to tangible business outcomes like market share gain, customer retention improvement, or operational cost reduction, not just technical metrics like model accuracy alone.
So constantly asking, how does this AI effort help us win? Not just, what cool things can this AI do?
Exactly. Translating the potential of the technology into the language of strategic value and financial impact. The second key competency the book identifies, and this one is perhaps the most crucial practical skill for non-technical leaders, is asking the right questions.
Just knowing what questions to ask of the technical teams or vendors.
Yes, this is huge. Executives don't need to know the answers, but they absolutely need to know what insightful, probing questions to ask of their data science teams, their business unit leaders who are proposing AI projects, external consultants, or software vendors pitching AI solutions. Asking the right questions drives clarity, exposes assumptions, ensures alignment, and promotes responsible development.
Okay, this sounds really valuable. What kinds of questions should leaders be equipped to ask? The book gives examples, right?
It does, and they fall into several categories. First, questions about purpose and value. What specific measurable business problem is this AI initiative intended to solve? Okay, how exactly will we measure its success in tangible business terms, not just technical ones? What is the realistic, expected ROI, and what are the key assumptions underpinning that calculation? How does this project directly support our top 2 or 3 overall strategic priorities? And importantly, have we thoroughly considered simpler, potentially non-AI solutions that might achieve similar results with less complexity or risk?
Good sanity check there. What about questions on the data?
Crucial. Questions about data. Do we actually have access to the necessary data for this model? Is it of sufficient quality, volume, and relevance? What specific steps are being taken to ensure this data is ethically sourced, representative of the population it will affect, and rigorously checked for potential harmful biases? How is this data being governed? How are we ensuring its security and protecting privacy? How frequently will the underlying data need to be refreshed to keep this AI model performing effectively over time?
Really getting into the foundation. Then questions about the AI model itself.
Yes, about the model and its limitations. Can you explain to me at a conceptual level how this AI model actually works? What are its core assumptions? What are its known limitations? Where might it fail? Under what specific conditions might it perform poorly or produce unreliable or even harmful results? How will we continuously monitor this model's performance after it's deployed in the real world? For decisions that have significant impact on people or the business, can we explain why the AI reached a particular conclusion or recommendation? What's the level of explainability?
Understanding the black box to some degree, what about putting it into practice?
Questions about implementation and operations. What are the real technical prerequisites needed to deploy and maintain this solution? Do we have the infrastructure and internal skills? How will this AI tool integrate smoothly into our existing business processes and workflows? What kind of change management and training will be required for the employees who need to use it? What are the true ongoing operational costs? Maintenance, monitoring, retraining beyond the initial development. What are our contingency plans? What happens if the AI model fails unexpectedly or starts producing bizarre results?
Planning for failure, essentially. And the ethical side.
Absolutely critical. Questions about ethics and risk. What are the potential ethical risks associated with this specific AI application? Have we considered potential impacts on fairness, equity, privacy, autonomy, or transparency? How are we ensuring this application complies not just with current regulations, but also with anticipated future regulatory trends? What mechanisms are built in for meaningful human oversight or intervention, especially for high-stakes decisions? How will we address concerns, complaints, or errors if the AI system negatively impacts our customers, employees, or other stakeholders? What's the redress process? The book strongly makes the case that leaders who consistently ask these kinds of tough, insightful questions, even without needing to understand the intricate technical details behind the answers, foster a culture of accountability, ensure greater rigor in AI development and deployment, and powerfully promote responsible AI practices throughout the organization.
That is an absolutely fantastic practical list of questions. Every leader involved with AI should probably have those taped to their monitor. What was the third key competency for AI fluency?
The third one is developing an understanding of basic ML types, model trade-offs, and limitations. Again, this isn't about deep technical expertise. It's about having a solid conceptual grasp of the main categories of machine learning, understanding the difference between supervised learning, learning from labeled examples, unsupervised learning, finding patterns in unlabeled data, and reinforcement learning, learning through trial and error with rewards.
Just knowing the basic flavors of AI.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And having a general awareness of the key AI domains like natural language processing, working with text and speech, computer vision, working with images and video, and the newer generative AI capabilities. It's also about being aware that there are always inherent trade-offs involved when designing and deploying AI models.
Trade-offs, like what?
Yeah. For example, sometimes there's a trade-off between a model's predictive accuracy and its interpretability or explainability. The most accurate models can sometimes be complex black boxes that are hard to understand. There are trade-offs between different types of errors, like precision, avoiding false positives, versus recall, avoiding false negatives. There's the constant tension between bias, how well the model fits the training data, and variance, how well it generalizes to new, unseen data. And there are practical trade-offs involving speed of computation versus cost versus accuracy when deploying models in production. Leaders don't need to calculate these trade-offs, but they need to be aware they exist and ask how they're being managed for specific applications.
And being realistic about what AI can't do.
Yes, having a realistic perspective on AI's current inherent limitations. Understanding that while incredibly powerful for specific tasks, today's AI systems lack true human-like understanding, common sense reasoning, consciousness, or generalized intelligence that can transfer easily between different domains. Keeping expectations grounded in reality is crucial for making smart strategic bets on AI.
It really sounds like the goal for leaders is to become fluent enough to be intelligent consumers, critical questioners, and effective strategic directors of AI, even if they're not, and never will be, the builders of it.
That's exactly it. It's about bridging that critical language and understanding gap that often exists between the technical teams and the business leadership. Sometimes, the book notes, organizations find value in having specific individuals who act as those AI translators or business translators to facilitate this communication. But ultimately, the leaders themselves need to build their own fluency.
And the book suggests concrete ways leaders can do that. It's not just abstract advice.
No, it offers very practical, deliberate steps leaders and organizations can take. Things like investing in high-quality, tailored AI education programs specifically designed for C-suite executives and board members, establishing peer learning circles where leaders can share experiences and insights with counterparts from other companies that might be further along their AI journey, encouraging reverse mentoring, pairing senior executives with younger, more digitally native employees, developing a clear, shared AI lexicon or glossary for the entire organization so everyone's speaking the same language, mandating the use of AI impact assessments or similar frameworks for every significant new AI initiative, forcing teams to explicitly consider the strategic alignment, data requirements, risks, and ethical implications up front, and integrating AI fluency development into broader leadership training and development programs.
So embedding it into how leaders are developed and how decisions are made.
Precisely. The goal, as the book puts it, is to transform leaders from being passive recipients of information about AI, or maybe even slightly intimidated by it, into becoming active, knowledgeable, and confident architects of their organization's intelligent future. And a key part of that is ensuring that human-AI collaboration is designed thoughtfully and effectively within the organization's workflows.
Meaning how people and AI actually work together on tasks.
Yes, it's rarely optimal to just fully automate everything or, conversely, ignore AI completely. It's about designing processes that leverage the strengths of both humans and AI. This involves building in necessary validation steps, feedback loops where humans can correct or refine AI outputs, and clear points for human oversight and intervention, especially in high-risk or ambiguous situations. Understanding the difference between human-in-the-loop systems, where a human must actively approve or make the final decision, human-on-the-loop systems, where humans monitor the AI's performance and can intervene if needed, and fully autonomous systems, and choosing the right level of human involvement for different tasks. That's a crucial aspect of deploying AI effectively and responsibly.
We have covered an incredible amount of ground today, really exploring how AI is fundamentally disrupting traditional strategy. We've seen how static, backward-looking planning is giving way to this dynamic, continuous sensing powered by AI. We've looked at how AI is transforming the nuts and bolts of operations, the way companies engage with customers, and even how they innovate. And we've dug into this powerful idea of algorithmic advantage as a new source of competitive power. The insights from the book Intelligent Advantage really drive home just how fundamental this transformation is for every business today.
I think that's the core message, isn't it? The era of setting a strategy once a year based on historical data and hoping for the best. That era is definitively over. It's giving way rapidly to dynamic, AI-augmented approaches that need to permeate every single part of the business. It demands a fundamental shift in how leaders think, how they plan, and how they act.
Embracing that continuous sensing, leveraging data-driven insights delivered in real time, and building those algorithmic capabilities we talked about.
It's really about building an organization that is truly intelligent and adaptive. One that doesn't just analyze the past in hindsight, but can actually sense, predict, plan, and act effectively in real time, constantly learning and adjusting its course as the landscape shifts.
And if you're listening and thinking, okay, I get it, this is huge, but how do I actually do this in my organization? Then, as we mentioned earlier, the book that guided this deep dive is an absolutely invaluable resource.
It really provides the frameworks, the case studies, and the practical guidance needed to move from understanding these concepts to actually implementing them.
Absolutely. Once again, the book is titled Intelligent Advantage, and it's by Ryan Beckett. You can find it very easily on Amazon. Just search for the title, Intelligent Advantage. If you want a comprehensive look at how to build these capabilities and lead through this transformation, it's the book to get.
Highly recommended. It really digs into the why and the how behind this essential evolution in strategy and leadership.
Okay, so to wrap up our deep dive today, let's leave you, our listener, with a final provocative thought to chew on. Based on everything we've discussed today, in your own organization, where are your critical planning processes or perhaps key operational decisions still fundamentally stuck looking backward, still based primarily on hindsight or static analysis from weeks or months ago?
And perhaps more importantly, what is just one specific, tangible, actionable step? Maybe a small one that you could take this week, starting tomorrow, to begin building or enhancing that dynamic, AI-powered sensing and response capability that the future clearly demands.
Just think about that one step. It doesn't need to be a massive overhaul overnight. Maybe it's exploring one of the AI-powered sensing tools we mentioned. Maybe it's initiating a conversation with your team about what critical real-time data signals you know you're currently missing. Maybe it's starting to ask some of those right questions about an existing AI project. What's your first move?
It's a great challenge to consider.
And one last time, if you want the full playbook on how to make this shift, make sure to check out the book Intelligent Advantage by Ryan Beckett, available on Amazon. Just search for Intelligent Advantage.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive today. It's been a fascinating discussion.
It really has. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Leading with AI podcast. We'll catch you next time.